Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again to do another man date with a guitar mate. This time I'm talking to an old student and friend of mine, somebody that I've known for many, many years actually, and I've seen him develop from an immature, sweet-picking shredder, the Jeff Loomis clone, as all 15, 16-year-olds want to be, and I've seen him develop now into a jazz player of a caliber that I'll never be able to achieve. So I'm going to pass you over to him. He can introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll get to talking. So say hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Rinciari. I'm 23 years old and I'm a jazz guitarist from London. Yeah, that's what I do. I play gigs, I get paid, I go home.
You said that you're a jazz guitarist from London, though, but you're not from London.
Yeah, you're right. Can you tell from my accent?
Yeah, and your name.
And my name, yeah. I'm Italian originally, but I moved here 2.5 years ago to join a uni.
You did a degree in music performance, I would imagine.
Yep.
The same qualification as me?
Yeah,
Same
I think so.
Same school as me?
Yep.
So you'd think that would mean that our playing is exactly the same and that we, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
In theory, same teachers, same course. We should be pretty similar players. Spoilers, we're totally not. Right, so let's talk about you and your history then. So I met you when doing residential guitar courses for the International Guitar Foundation festival out in Bath, I think. Was it Bath the first time I met you?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so we were out in Bath and Andy James was there and Martin Goulding, old friends and colleagues of mine. So it was a kind of metal focused thing, and there was you and another friend of ours, Easel Candola McNicholas.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? I did.
Yeah.
Though he's disappeared off the face of the earth. Another great player. Maybe we'll get him on here at some point. So yeah, we met there, and you were a really technically proficient shredder, and I think you'd only been playing for a year or two at that point.
Yeah, I think I started playing 1 year before.
Yeah. So yeah, you were a pretty good player, pretty good technical player, but you seemed to have your ear twisted, shall we say, whenever you heard something that wasn't metal, anything with some outside sounds. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually remember having like an epiphany, or I don't know how you call it, but it's like that moment when you realize there's something else. That happened to me twice. One was at the IGF where I met you, which I don't know that improvisation was a thing at all. I had no idea. Like, I had no idea about the concept. I had no idea how people could get up and play together. And the second time I had it was actually with you on Skype when you sent me a link of Wes Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're a huge Wes fan. But carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, that changed totally my life. And yeah, I think without IGF or what happened there and that magical experience, which was only a week.
Yeah.
But, it was very concentrated and you had the opportunity to meet so many great players. In fact, there I met Dario Cortese as well as Martin and Andy James, and as well as Gianluca Corona, which both are
big
I mean,
influences.
all of them, yeah, they are true mentors.
I like that you say that, actually, because I had a similar epiphany when I was out at that IGF thing, because it was metal, the course. You did two courses. You did my course, and then we left. Me, Andy, and Martin left, and then you went on and did the jazz and blues course. Was it jazz and blues?
Yeah, it was with Dario.
Yeah. So I'm at the time, like, obviously I was being paid to work shred kind of stuff, which was cool, and my technique was good-ish. I look back and it must have been good. Martin Gordon and Andy James were giving me work. But I realised there on that weekend, or that week, sorry, that when we were doing masterclasses, that I'm never going to be as good as Andy James. And even if I'm as good as Andy James, people aren't going to come and see me over coming to see Andy James or Martin Goulding. You're always going to be in someone's shadow because the shred thing is very competitive. And I remember that week I'd planned all of these masterclasses to do, evening masterclasses on like neoclassical shred and economy picking technique and integrating tapping into your lines and stuff. And what I realised is that people were, after a whole long day of teaching, they were going to these Andy James masterclasses, and they were just exhausted. They couldn't take more notes, battery of notes. So I changed my plan, and I did a class on introducing the melodic minor scale, and it was literally just adding the major seventh to a pentatonic scale. And I'll always remember, the epiphany was when I had this, I think he must have been an 11-year-old kid. He came up on stage, I brought him up and said, right, so we've learned all of this minor pentatonic, and here's that major seventh. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little funky minor chord vamp type thing. I want you to just solo and just play around with the minor pentatonic scale like you might already do, but then just hit that major seventh and listen to it, see what it sounds like. And the epiphany was seeing the look in that kid's eyes when he hit that major seventh. There was that shock of, wow, that's really cool and really simple. And it made me realise that, yeah, like there's many ways to skin a cat, as they say. I realised at that point that if I wanted to make a success of my career, I needed to not be in the shadow of other players. You know, second-rate Andy James, a second-rate Martin Goulding. I needed to try and find my own thing. You've had a similar thing to that, haven't you? Because you're a full-on jazz guitar player now. We said that you're out gigging four gigs this week. Is that right?
Yeah, I had 4 gigs last week.
Yeah. So, but that's all jazz, right?
Yeah.
Proper
Everything
jazz.
is jazz. I'm working with different bands. I'm doing some singers. I'm playing with some singers. I have my own project, which is the Andrea Rinciari Quartet, where we play some original stuff and some standards from all the greats, like Bud Powell, Wes Montgomery, Art Blakey.
You had a sellout gig as well recently, didn't you?
Yes.
Who thought that was possible in jazz?
Exactly. Actually, people paying to get in.
Yeah,
and
madness.
selling the place out.
Yeah. Let's prove it. Pick up your guitar.
Yeah.
Just when I say prove it, I mean let's just prove that you're an actual jazz guitar player. And the reason I say that is because I never say to people like I'm a jazz guitar player, but if people need pointers in jazz harmony and application of that, like that's stuff that I'll teach. Fine teaching that, but yeah, I've done jazz gigs and they're not my comfort zone. I don't sound like a jazz player to a jazz player, in the same way that guys like Guthrie don't sound like country players to fans of country music. So yeah, but you're an actual jazz player. So why don't you give me some jazz, some chord melody or something, just anything.
Sure. Sound
authentic. Oh, your camera's gone off.
All
there we go. You're back.
Hey. All right. Yeah, I'll play something for you. I might play. Yeah, I'll just play. All right.
Sounded like jazz to me. It's like you played all of the wrong notes, but you did it on purpose, which makes it acceptable. So yeah, that sounded like authentic jazz in a kind of like a level that I've not ever achieved with it, because I'm too schizophrenic with my music. Like I want to learn this, and I'll work on this, and then it'll be like, and this might be like country, and then I'll spend like a week working on shred technique, and then I'll spend a week working on funk rhythms, or like I just get all the country fingerstyle thing. Like I wrote a book on country fingerstyle with just nylon string, Jerry Reed stuff. Then maybe I'll pick up the fretless guitar, and I enjoy lots of facets of music. So getting to that level of jazz, never materialized for me. How did it materialize for you?
Ooh, interesting question. Well, it's actually thanks to what you taught me. I used the method that I didn't know was existing before, which you showed me. It was the cage system.
Okay.
In fact, I consider myself, and now I'm teaching students the cage system, but is in relation like to map your fretboard with 5 positions, and then learning, like transcribing a lot.
You've done a lot of transcribing, haven't you? Talk about that.
Yeah.
You used to put up a lot of transcription videos. You transcribe entire Wes. In fact, I remember when we were studying together, you used to do transcriptions, and then you'd come back to me and you'd be like, I've transcribed this entire Wes solo or whatever. You have a transcription, and then you'd play it to me, and it never sounded quite right to me. And I always said to you, I don't see the like masses of value in you like copying exactly what someone's doing for 3 solid minutes. Talk to us about transcription.
But at a certain point, it actually started to make sense.
Yeah.
So because what I was transcribing, then I was getting it in like a little package, and I was applying it, which is the main key to make things work. So say for a little stupid lick, right? I don't know. Over this, right, over A7, you would play, I don't know.
Yep.
Right? This is a little stupid lick, but if you don't understand the concept around it, which is starting on the flat 7, going back to the major 3rd.
Yep.
And then ending on the 4th of the minor chord that's coming after. I mean, if you then apply this like scientific method to everything you transcribe, then you start to sound like someone, and then after you develop your way to do things, then you sound like yourself, which I don't want. I'm not there yet, but
that's a lifelong battle, isn't it? So the analysis, you'd say, is like the important aspect of things.
Yeah, of course. What do you think about it?
Oh, I completely agree with you. When I'm transcribing, roll over here and get a guitar. I rarely transcribe for myself now, but so last night I was working on like whole tone stuff. I struggle with, when I play whole tone, getting it to sound natural. So I play scalar stuff when I'm playing whole tone. Which sounds, quite cheesy. The sequential wider interval type stuff is not something that I spend a lot of time practicing. So last night I was practicing going, and getting those, like having that be automatic. Like what I was doing there, for anyone watching, I'm not thinking about. It's not a pattern, although technically there is a pattern. I'm focusing on. I can see that I'm pulling a weird face when I'm doing it, and that's because I'm trying to hear what the next interval should sound like, and then play that. Yeah. So, in terms of transcription and practice and things, what I take from that is when I'm playing over a 7♯5 chord. One of my kind of entry points, if we would call it that, to playing whole tone would be the 3rd. Hit the 3rd of the chord, and then any of those whole tone sequences are going to work on it. I don't know why I'm telling you this like you don't know this already. Of course you know this. So if I'm playing a blues type thing, let's say I'm doing a blues in C. I can hit if I want to. That third is my way into whole tone. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's the exact same principle that you've just talked about there. Like intervallic analysis of everything that I'm doing is very important to the application of things down the road. And I felt that kind of when you started learning transcribing, you had a good ear for it. You had a very good ear for it, and you were transcribing things very accurately. But it did feel like only when you started out, definitely not now, that approach wasn't so much there. It felt a lot more like you were doing the metal approach to transcribing, which is I put my finger here, then I put my finger here, and then without that knowledge of what that is and what the phrase is. But when we think of music like a language, that's the best way to learn anything, really, isn't it? Transcribe some Wes solos, and it's you imagine Wes as a mute and he can't speak, and his only way to communicate is playing notes. And then you start seeing the phrases as being exactly that, phrases, not just put my finger here, then here, and that type of thing. Transcription, obviously, is my bread and butter. It's what I always recommend people develop. It's an important skill.
Absolutely.
So, good. I'm glad that transcription thing worked out so well for you. It can be quite addictive as well, can't it? Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I remember my first ever transcription I did was the full solos, the entire solos of So What. But, okay, I'll tell you what I did. Because I analyzed every single note. Okay.
Yep.
So I started with actually trying to understand what the sense was of those. But, the little riff that So What has, right?
Yep.
All right. But I didn't look at the chart. I was like, I'll do everything by my own. So I transcribed this as A minor. Then going here with a horrible flat 6 on the bass. And I transcribed the whole solo. Like everything. Like the whole solo.
And you were thinking of it as A?
A minor. It's like, fine. Yeah. And then I had to redo it again. And then I realized, let's check chords too and see what the harmony is, Yeah. And
that's funny, and that shows a kind of underdeveloped ear for the time, because now, like, I'm sure you hear that and you can hear a snapshot of it, like 3 seconds, and you go, that's Dorian. That sounds like Dorian. That has that Dorian vibe, which is, I know what you mean with the analysis, and you can go overboard with it, though. Do you feel that you can go overboard with it?
With analysis? Well, I mean, I don't believe that you actually learn something if you don't understand it.
Yep.
Like, understanding meaning, like, if it makes sense to your ear, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. But at the start, I mean, I was new to the language, so I had to break it down into small pieces. Like when you learn a new language, like if you want to learn Chinese, I can't just speak it.
Yeah, you can't just read the dictionary and.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so. Well, I mean, to break it down, but nowadays it's like,
I remember studying Joe Pass transcriptions, doing lots of Joe Pass transcriptions, but actually before I was transcribing them, having lots of books of Joe Pass transcriptions, and I would sit and analyse what he was playing against the harmony, and I would find lots and lots and lots of things that would make me go, well, that's not right. Hitting the major 7 over the dominant 7 chord, and he was doing it all the time. And as a young, I must have been 15 at the time, as a young guy wanting to develop his jazz things, that was actually hard for me to swallow. I couldn't marry up these two ideas of it sounds good, like the line, here's the line, the vocabulary, the phrase, this is what he played, the full sentence. I couldn't marry that into the idea of how it works harmonically over what he's playing. And time has taught me to accept the fact that sometimes the how things work is nowhere near as important as the does it work kind of approach.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Like, there's not one thing you said that is wrong. Like, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
It sounds good. Yes, fine. And I'm a true believer in that. In fact, there's many Wes solos which are wrong.
Yeah.
Like, but they bloody work.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You enjoy them, and that's all that matters.
yeah.
So, education.
Oh,
We've both
okay.
had a long history of education, and we both did a degree in music performance at a school that will remain unnamed because not for any legal reasons, just because I don't want to give them any attention. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Your cough is very telling. So when I went to said institution, wanting to get my performance in contemporary music better, what I did was I looked at the prospectus for the courses, and when I went there, it was only the second year that they were doing the degree. So they hadn't ironed anything out really, and there was one group of people before me that had just done the first year. They were moving on to the second year, so nobody had actually finished the course. And I was excited because when I looked through the prospectus, there was in year 3 there were options. You can do this, or this, and one of those options was jazz studies. And I was like, yes,
Wow.
that's exactly what I want. And by the time I got to the third year, they deleted that. They were no longer offering jazz studies as a third year thing. In fact, as I'm sure you well know, I didn't really play any guitar in the third year. It was all
Yep.
writing essays and
Yeah.
brutal stuff.
Which I don't really understand. You know, you're getting a degree in performance. Your degree is performance.
Yeah.
And you don't play guitar.
Well, I mean, like
In third year.
we understand it, but I don't think we're willing to accept it. There comes a point in it, and I'm hoping to line up an interview with another very high-profile teacher soon. In fact, we've agreed to it. We just need to sort out time. I won't spoil it, but there's that line between the money and the art, and getting that married is very difficult. Getting them perfect is very difficult. When you have a degree course like that, they did a degree before I went there, but when I went there, it was the first time the degree was validated by a proper big university. So my degree,
right.
yeah. So I don't like when people say where did I study, I actually just say the University of East London because to me that is a more prestigious place than where I actually studied. Yeah. So the essay writing and stuff like that's all just box ticking that has to be done in order for the University of East London to be willing to put their stamp of approval on the degree, which is if I was teaching, if you stayed with me as a private student for 5 years, there would never come a time where I'd go, right, now what we need to do is essays. But that's because
exactly.
Yeah, as a private teacher, the only thing that matters to me is development as a player and getting you where you need to be. So what would you say about music institutions like schools? You're obviously a very good player. Was everybody at school a very good player? Did everybody come out a very good player? Did you know any bad players?
I mean, not to be rude to anyone who was in my class. In fact, I'm not going to do any names or whatsoever. Yeah. But there's definitely some not good players.
I'll just have those names scrolling on the screen right now.
There were definitely not many good players, I was probably one. No, I wasn't the only one, but I was one of the few that were actually playing jazz and know how to improvise over changes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the basic of a university. Like a university is getting you a degree, which is one of the highest qualifications you can get.
Yeah.
And if you can't solo over changes, I mean...
Yeah, I remember it was painful in the jazz section of the course. We had to play a Pat Metheny tune, and there are other ones that have slipped my mind because it must have been about 6 years ago I did my degree. Now it's been a long time. We were never the idea of how to approach soloing over that Pat Metheny tune was never really covered. It was, this is the melody, you need to play this. This is how you play basic chords behind the singer. And the solo's pretty much in this key, just go for it. But what do you expect? Like, they can't give you everything like this is how you solo over this tune because you've got a week to learn the tune. and then you're onto another
Yeah.
tune that you have to learn, and that might be a Malmsteen tune.
Yeah, yeah.
There's never any detail presented in any of it, and it's brutal. I mean, I've always said, I don't know how you'd feel about this. Like, my degree was the biggest waste of money I ever. Like, I'm still £30,000 in debt because of it, and I didn't learn a whole lot from the degree. And if I could go back in time, I would absolutely do it all again. I would pay all of that money and I would go there and I would do exactly the same thing, because I became the player I am today because of my time there. And yeah, it wasn't what I was being taught while I was there that was important. It was the time that I had to go and do all of the things that I knew that I needed to do. Like, I wasn't... I failed my second year oral and transcribing exam. I failed a transcribing exam, right? At the time, I was paying my rent transcribing music. Like, so I've got a school telling me, your transcription skills are so low that we can't even pass you. I mean, ultimately, it was a fuck up in their marking scheme. And I was paying my rent with it. I remember going into, like, having to miss some classes because I ended up being homeless while I was at university, and that was brutal. I missed exams and things, and I came back down, and I'd missed some classes with, I'm not going to name the teacher because both a teacher that you and I really like and enjoy, and they were talking about I asked what I'd missed, and we'd been looking at some Jim Mullen stuff. Which,
Wow.
you know, yeah, Jim, obviously a great player, and I was like, oh, that's a shame. I'll put in the time and I'll go home and I'll transcribe some Jim Mullen solos, and you know, work on what I've missed. And I remember the teacher went, yeah, right, okay, cool, sure. Like, the idea of a student either being willing to go and transcribe what he needed to transcribe or capable. I'm not sure what approach the logic was, but I know from my time there that a lot of the teachers had this, it wasn't disdain for the students, but it was like just constantly seeing those faces of kids that come in because their parents have got money and, yeah, I want to go to music school, and there's no real passion for the music. So you talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same experience that I had in a way, because sometimes I was missing gigs because I was missing lessons because of gigs, like, or rehearsals or studio time, you know.
Yep.
And also everything changed from when I started to when I ended, like, a few months back. You know, when I started, there was a lot of playing. There was a lot of good teaching from different teachers. But then, between the first year and the second year, everything changed.
Right.
So they fired, I don't know how many teachers because they didn't have the qualification. I think they wanted to, like, institutionalize the university.
Okay.
It's like its own entity.
Wow.
So they had to fire those teachers which didn't have degrees, or I don't know.
And I know some of the teachers that were let go, and they're, you know, some of the best players you're ever going to hear.
Exactly. That's it. That is absolutely nonsense. You know, you're in a music school. You're looking for art. You're not looking for qualifications.
Yeah.
I think.
I totally agree with you. We I keep saying married, like marrying these ideas together. Just because someone has a qualification, it does not mean that they're good at art.
Yeah, exactly.
I know people that are teaching at that school now that have really no business teaching compared to some of the people that were let go. But the reason they're there is because they got a nice shiny piece of paper. Which, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that whenever we're talking about music, we are talking about art. Art can be taught, but you don't institutionalize art because it doesn't work. I mean, you can't put a formula down for art.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't say to everyone to do the exact same thing because everyone would sound the same, and that's not art.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Art, I think, is about, you know, creating something that wasn't existing before. And trying to make it sound good too.
Just making something that leaves some sort of impact on the people that see it or hear it. Even if that impact is, I hated it. Like, I would be so happy if I've put 2 albums out now. I'd be so happy if everybody in the world heard them and everybody in the world hated them. That to me is so much more valuable than people having not heard them. You know, like it's just about impacting people and having that connection with people and eliciting a reaction. Like, I love putting on music that I find difficult to listen to, because that's an experience, and it's too easy to be too sheltered in music and just listen to all this happy-go-lucky stuff that's in your comfort zone. Sometimes you need to put on something that's really weird and avant-garde and out there, because that's expression too. That's, if you're an artist, at least, you know, if you just listen to music. My wife
I
probably not
absolutely
so
agree.
much.
I absolutely agree. And on that note, like, you're putting yourself in a not comfort zone. I remember playing with a double bassist, which after the gig he told me, "How did you feel?" And I replied, absolutely, you know, honest, like an honest answer. I didn't feel comfortable, and he said, "Perfect." That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted to show me. Not to show me, to make me feel, in a way, like a sense of not being comfortable. So probably testing me on how I react and all those kind of things, you know.
Oh yeah, making sure that
things.
you're listening and that you're playing with the band, rather than, you know, you're up there playing a gig and in your head you've just got band in a box going, and you don't hear anything that's going on. I remember just jamming with Lewis Turner, a pal of mine. He's a great player, and I can't even remember what we were jamming on now. It might have been All the Things You Are, and I was used to sort of playing that with a certain feel, you know, the way that I hear most people play it. So I was comping for him, and he was playing, you know, playing great. And he, you know, nodded to me, take a solo, and I started soloing. And halfway through my chorus of soloing, he just changed up the feel totally and gave it like a Latin vibe to his comping, and it made me feel uncomfortable. It surprised me, but that's the key part, is that I heard that he'd done it and I tried to react to it, and then he gave it more of a hard bop feel and a funky. He just kept going for all of these weird total juxtapositions of sounds that I wouldn't normally expect. And yeah, I think he was testing me ultimately, and I fell flat on my face, which is fine. But that's important, right? When you're playing with someone, that you're hearing what they're doing, rather than just hit that good old band in the box backing track that you can hear in your head. I'll just play my changes and hopefully we'll all gel together, because it just doesn't work.
Yep, I absolutely agree 100%. And I think not everyone knows that.
Yeah,
you need to play with different people, and understand how they play, and then you change your playing, because at a certain point you understand your playing and you understand how it changes in relation to people you're playing with. For example, my quartet, they are wonderful musicians, but I picked them because I know how they play, and that's the sound I want. And I know how they react if I go on chords, full on chords, or octaves, or whatever. I know how they will react, and it starts to build like a chemistry between all of us, you know. And
that's really a nice and interesting thing for you to say, because you talked about an epiphany that you had at IGF, and that was that you didn't understand improvisation was a thing, and that people could get up and improvise music. And now what you're talking about is being so clued into the improvisation side of things that you're even picking the people that you're playing with based on the improvisational chemistry that is going to come from working with those people. Which is good.
Absolutely.
You've become a full-on improviser. Fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was, but you know, sometimes you have to make stuff up.
So, I would like you to tell me a ridiculous story. I'll tell you a ridiculous story, and then you can tell me a ridiculous story. This can be the most backward and crazy, stupid thing that you've seen, either in music education or the gigging scene or whatever. So here's my story. Actually, there are 2 that spring to mind. One is just kind of they're actually both poking fun at music school. The first one was halfway through my second year when we were in a music theory class, maybe a technique class. and somebody at the back of the class piped up and asked the question, "How do you harmonise a major scale again?" And I wanted to shoot myself in my face. That was brutal. But the one that really grabbed me, and the thing that I'll never forget this, you need to constantly look out for things like this when you're working with teachers. There's two ways to learn anything. There's the easy way and there's the right way. And all right, fair enough. There might be many right ways to get to the same destination, but ultimately the destination is the important thing. And in our oral and transcribing class, you have to learn to hear a mode and be able to say what that mode is, right? So you hear a major scale, you go, that's the major scale. Then the same thing is played, but the fourth is raised, and you go, oh, it's the Lydian scale. Same thing is played, but the seventh is flattened. Oh, okay, that's Lydian dominant. Just being able to hear a mode and know what it is. And we're having to do that with major scale modes and melodic minor modes, and then harmonic minor modes. They never touch harmonic major, interestingly. But yeah, so harmonic minor modes, mode 7 comes round, and we were told to think of mode 7. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. See, you're laughing already. Mixolydian sharp 1. Sharp 1. Can you, how's that? And the answer is, that's done for singers. It's done so a singer, because singers can't play instruments, and when they do, they play piano. So they literally can see the Mixolydian scale and they go, right, I just sharpen the 1, and that gives me... But how does that work from an oral and transcribing perspective? The notes get played, and you're asked, did you spot the sharp 1? No! Motherfucker! That second note didn't sound like a major second. It sounded like a flat 2. No, the third note wasn't a major third. It was a flat third. Oh, silly me! I missed that sharp 1, that pesky sharp 1.
That's. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, man. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it was there. I don't know. They missed another 1 after the sharp. It was sharp 11. They missed something. It's like sharp 1. Cool. Right.
Yeah. That's what happens when you have a music theory teacher that can't play any instruments. So. At least that was my experience. So yeah, tell me something that will make me laugh. I'm putting you on the spot.
I can tell you a story of one of my craziest day I've ever done.
Yeah, do it.
So I had a organ trio residency in a pub called the Gypsy Queen in Chalk Farm. Kentish Town, sorry. And I was practicing for the gig. I was just playing some stuff, and suddenly I hear a loud scream of a man. So I look outside my window and I see a guy running away from a girl that was chasing him with a knife.
London.
Yeah. So I just watched the whole scene. So they went round the house and back, there's a train station, and the girl threw the knife on the rail tracks. They ended up fighting. So the police came, and they were looking for witnesses. So I went down and I told them the story, and I told them about the knife. So I went there for just showing them where the knife was, and there's a wooden fence which is destroyed, very very rotten, and there was this slab on the ground with 2 rusty nails picking up. I was with these flip-flops. I don't know if you can see it, but
there's holes in them.
There's 2 holes there, so they went right through my foot. So I went to the hospital. I waited 4 hours in the Hampstead Heath Hospital, which is horrible. It's really gross. There was an old woman bleeding out. She had all her face with a kitchen roll, which was red because of her blood. It was she was literally bleeding out. Yeah. So the atmosphere wasn't the best one. So I waited there for 4 hours or something. Finally, I got a tetanus injection. Yep. And antibiotics and stuff. Then I limped back home, got my guitar, got my amp, did the gig. and then went home.
Because you had to, man. You got to pay rent.
Yeah, sure, but man, that was nonsense.
Yeah.
When I called the organist, um, he was like, "Ah, fuck off! You're shitting me. It's not true. You know." I was like, "No, man, this is true."
Well, fortunately, you're a jazz guitarist, so you don't need to stand on any pedals.
There you go. And then don't need to stand up.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's totally acceptable to just sit. I just saw
Yeah.
Mike Stern with Randy Brecker, and Randy Brecker just sat down all night. All right, fair enough. Yeah, enjoy yourself. You get comfortable. We're sitting. You might as well sit too. Okay, so let's get on to the last thing, and that's probably like this entire conversation. You keep saying I agree with you completely, but this is the thing you won't agree with me on. What does the future hold for you?
Sorry?
What does the future hold for you?
Ooh.
And what I'm
That's a
getting
good
at
point.
here is like, as you obviously know, and many of my viewers will know, I moved out of London.
Yeah.
And I know still got a lot of musician friends in London that they've been there you've been there 2.5 years now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know guys that have been in London for like 10 years now, and they feel that they're in the exact same place that they were 10 years ago. Maybe they know a few more people, and they're starting to get that panic of, where am I going to be in 10 years' time? Is it going to be the same? Like, where do you see your future? Do you feel that there needs to be a change in the industry? Do you think that you can stay in London forever and keep living the way you live now, or talk?
So, well, the way I see it is that, well, I started from scratch. Yeah. So in 2.5 years, now I'm able to gig 3-4 times a week, every week, which is a very good thing. And I had to fight a lot for it, you know. It's been like crazy late nights, just not sleeping, going back from Ronnie's Cots at, don't know, 6 a.m. and just going back to uni after without any sleep. And there's been many nights like that, you know. And there's been many nights where I got roasted downstairs at Ronnie's Cots. That happened. Like roasted. But, you know, it's so... I did all of this, and I enjoy every little second of it. Like playing with other artists and stuff. It's really... It makes me feel happy from what I'm doing now. And in 10 years, I would just want to be more busy.
More busy?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I want, really. All I want would be really just to play music all day.
You, last time I checked, have a partner, though.
Partner? Yeah. Yes, I still do.
Yeah.
Veronica.
Yes. Wave to Veronica. So, like, the thing that killed it for me was exactly that. It was the late nights. And I still do late nights. Like last night, I was working till about 3 a.m. And then I needed to upload a Scotty Anderson album to Bandcamp so he could make some money and stuff like that, you know, just putting in the time that needs to be put in. But ultimately, what it came down to for me was when I was in London, I actually didn't even have time to see my friends because I was having to work so many hours just in order to be able to pay rent so I could get up and do it all again, round and round and round. So busier is your goal, is there not?
Yeah.
Will that not kill you?
Who knows?
You'll die of a heroin overdose at 27. I mean, you play jazz, it's a given.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing is missing fried chicken, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, that's what makes me happy in a way. I love performing in front of an audience which listens. In fact, I never ever felt anything like that at the Vortex, because like, the audience was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like I grew up in Italy. Okay, I was doing a few gigs back then after I met you.
Yep.
So I was doing quite a few gigs, but you know the music there is, if you're not in the right scene, is a bit like I don't know. It's like something in between food and talk. It's not the main thing. It's not you're going there for having an experience.
Yeah, it's background. It's
background. Yeah.
It's ambience.
Yeah, I never ever had a the crowd, like the vortex, like at the vortex, the silence was unreal. Like everyone was packed, and like the room full of people, and like everyone was listening to every single note. No, I'm not sure about every single note, but they were definitely listening. Like I didn't hear any loud. You know that you get always
the
that
chatter.
loud,
Yeah.
the loud Tory, the loud rich Tory. Yeah.
Well, not
But yeah.
so much of the gigs that I'm doing, not the Hellcat Molly gigs.
All right.
Yeah. You're playing to a different market, and a market of people that they can afford to have political views like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So now I'm just going to ask you to play a blues, because you're a good blues guitar player in a jazz setting, of course. We hooked up last time I was in London, and I can't play jazz, so I said, let's play a blues, and thinking I can play blues. And then you comped behind me like a jazz player and made me sound all silly. So now you play some blues and you sound silly.
All right. I'll try.
And the thing I like about that is you went full on Wes. You did the single note soloing, some octaves, some chords. Nice. It's the way it should be done. Good job.
Thank you.
If anybody is watching this video and they're interested in Andreas playing, where can they find out more about you?
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel. I'll send you some links. Facebook page.
Which is?
Then Instagram. Oh, Facebook page, which is Andrea Rinciari.
Okay. As in, are you talking a band page or your personal page?
Yeah, my artist page.
Okay.
And then you can find me on Instagram. If you want, you can follow me and see what the hell am I doing.
Don't. He's Italian. He just posts pictures of things with him doing this in front of him. It's just constant selfies like this.
I'll do for this video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so yeah, gigs and things like that. When you're playing gigs, people can find out about them. Probably, I would say, on your Facebook page would be the number one place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, oh, your camera's gone off again. Oh, that is a strange face to be showing off there. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, man. Any closing thoughts to people? Any messages?
To the people.
To the people, the 4 people that are still watching.
Play jazz.
Play jazz. Don't play jazz. There's no money in it. Unless, well, I always do this. I like do the closing thing and then I carry on talking because I like talking. Like, who was I talking to recently about this? It might have even been you. It was you. We were talking about somebody, one of your teachers, like telling you not to play jazz and you can't make a living playing jazz. You took issue with that because you've gone out and done it. And my point was, and I'm sure that said teacher is incredibly happy that you proved them wrong. But as teachers, our goal is always to lead people down not necessarily the safest path, but a smart path. So the idea of going out and playing jazz professionally to you seems obvious, but if a student comes to me and says, I want to make a career as a jazz player, I would encourage them to have lots of skills and to do lots of things in the same way that I'm sure if somebody came to you and said that they exclusively want to play a fusion of heavy metal and Indonesian gamelan music on 8-string guitars with no bass player or drummer, just the guitars, a trumpet, and someone screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a teacher, you would hopefully go, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but maybe you want to prepare yourself for other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a few skills, because there's nothing worse. You and I have seen them. Everybody's seen them. Guys that we went to university with that had to move back home with their parents because they weren't making any money when they came out of university, and that's it. Game over. That's the career over. So you say go out and play jazz. I say go out and be a professional and be prepared to do anything, but just do it well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough world.
Yeah. It's brutal. The music scene is, I want to say it's dying. You'd say it's healthy, but yeah, I'm sure the Tories can do something about that for us. Right. So, yeah.
Tips.
Living on tips, living on people's good graces. All right, lastly, I'm going to have to voice over this because, like an idiot, I didn't actually record the audio. But as you can see, these awesome people here will support me over on Patreon at a $10 tier. Massively appreciative. There's a lot of names there now, and that is absolutely awesome. It helps me to continue doing what I'm doing. As you can see, these videos are getting better, and that's the exact point of Patreon. It allows me to do things like buy lighting, buy a microphone, buy plugins. I've got my eyes on a nice new microphone, Shure SM7B. Unfortunately, it's £350, a lot of money, but it's going to improve my videos, and the Patreon thing allows me to do that. So if you would like to join that list, you can do so, as I say, for $10. If you would like to join us over on Patreon, you can do so by clicking this button up here. Doing so for as little as $1 gets you access to my private patron-only Facebook group. Lots of guys in there, about 60 people in there now that all talk music all day long and transcription and stuff. We have lots of fun games and challenges. Subscribe by clicking this button down here and check out 2 more videos here. One will be mine and one will be a video of Andrea playing some cool jazz because he's a cool jazz player. Thanks so much for all the support, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have not, let me know and I will give you your money back. Peace out, and I'll see you soon. Bye.